Okay, good evening, everybody. Good evening, Jean-Francois. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. Yep.
I'm great, thank you. So I'm Natalie Nidham. I'm a holistic nutritionist. I'm an epigenetic coach, and I am here tonight with Jean-Francois Tremblay from CanLab, who was gracious enough to take some time away from his crazy schedule these days. He's a busy, busy guy. Jean-Francois is a pharmacology expert and also is the owner of CanLab, which is becoming one of the, or has become one of the leading peptide manufacturers in North America, I think, if I'm not wrong, Jean-Francois.
As the increased shortage of products from China, we're slowly gaining the market,
Gaining
big
ground.
parts of the market.
Yeah. Hence your busy schedule. So, so we're going to talk about, because of course we're in the middle of a bit of a major world event right now. If you're watching this in 10 years, this is, we're in the middle, we're kind of at the front end of the COVID-19 virus kind of hitting North America. It's been to Europe, it's done a number on China, it's kind of having an impact on many, many countries. And so we're going to talk about immunity. So, but before we get into it, the one thing I want to be very clear with people is we're not giving any medical advice here. Neither of us are doctors. So if you find yourself in a situation where you think you've contracted, whether it's COVID-19 or something else, you need to call your doctor and get medical help. What we're going to talk about tonight is some of the strategies that you might be able to use to help to support your body so that hopefully you either don't get this virus in the first place, or if you do, your body's in a better state to kind of get used through it with the least amount of drama possible. So on that note, I mean, I know it sounds a bit like a disclaimer, but at the end of the day, it is. So we're going to start from the free stuff that everybody knows, but I think it bears repeating that I'll start with my kind of list of things you can do to support your immune system. And then Jean-Francois, I think it would be great if you could share yours with us as well. And then we're going to get into a couple of the peptides, really one in principle that is going to be the leader in terms of assisting people in this particular situation. And then we'll talk about a couple of the peptides that have been recommended in other arenas and maybe why, you know, they may or may not be too useful for you right now. And then we have a couple of questions from our group that people would like us to get answered. Okay, so to start with, I mean, starting with the basics, we know that to support our immune system, you know, it sounds almost cliche, but the fact of the matter is that if you're getting proper sleep, if you're finding ways to manage your stress, which in these days, every time you open your apps or your Facebook or whatever it is, somebody else is sounding the alarm. So managing stress is becoming really tough. And doing things like, whether it's meditation, breath work, spending time with family, spending time outside, having a few hours a day where you just shut down the social media and step away. I think these are all really valuable ways to manage stress. Getting exercise, moving your body, getting those endorphins flowing. It sounds like, how is that possibly going to support my immune system? It's going to do a lot. If you haven't already adopted a whole food diet, now's the time. If you're not eating fermented foods, now's the time. If you are not taking vitamin D3 on a regular basis, this is the time to do it. We should all be doing it, but optimizing vitamin D3 is a huge support for immunity along with everything else. I would add to that omega-3s. We all need that for optimal cell membrane health. Vitamin C, making sure that you're taking zinc or eating zinc-rich foods at this stage of the game. Zinc you have to be careful of. You don't want to do too much. Selenium, eating 3 Brazil nuts a day is going to help with your immunity. And what else? And then a good immune stack, like something with a mushroom complex, like medicinal mushrooms, incredibly powerful to support immunity. So, and stay the hell away from sugar, processed foods. Like, this seems obvious. And really, guys, if you're feeling like wine is your way to cope, this may not be the best time to go overboard. Have a glass of wine, by all means. but having that bottle every night may not be your best strategy right now. So I'm going to stop talking, and Jean-Francois, why don't you give us your...
Yeah, well, I agree very much with you. If you don't cover the bases first, like healthy living hygiene, sleep hygiene, nutrition, and all that, it would be like giving a bunch of antioxidants to a smoker.
Yeah.
You know, it will do something, but truth is not much. What you should do is stop smoking. Then you start to look into other things. It's that simple. So look into those basic things first. That's going to be a big plus. And yeah, as for supplement, or you look at any good complements, supplement companies, you know, Torn, Design for Health, and I'm sure you know a few too. They have very good immune system support.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
you get
Designs for Health Immunotone is a really good...
so, you know, you get everything in one, and those guys, they really know how to design those supplements. So, you know, it's a no-brainer, and that's really good. So now, me as a peptide guy, okay, first, there was a protocol that was released first by Dr. Stickler, then picked up by the IPS and all that. But you have to keep in mind that's a therapeutic protocol, not a preventive, and to me it's too much, in the sense that, if I may use that example, you have in those compounds you have a very strong immune system modulator peptide, which is thymosin alpha 1. Now they throw in thymosin beta 4 in, which too has that immune system effect, but it's about 100 times less than thymosin alpha 1. So why use both when you have access to the best one? It's like...
Is it possible that the thymosin beta 4 was because as you're talking, I'm wondering that because as you said, the protocol was really therapeutic. It was for when you get sick, do this.
Yeah.
Is it possible that the thymosin beta 4 would have any benefit to protecting the lungs in that situation where you've got this inflammatory reaction going on and things are breaking down? Or with, I mean, I don't know.
No, because thymosin alpha 1 has a systemic anti-inflammatory effect.
Also, okay.
And it's even used in one of its mode of action in lung cancers and all that. It's to decrease inflammation. It's like, okay, because when you have a category of anything, like here we have immune system peptides, thymosin alpha 1, beta 4, thymolin, you have, and now they're throwing in C-line that has some, no, that's more antimicrobial, but okay. Anyway, it's like comparing or telling you, okay, you want nervous system stimulant. So you have caffeine, you have ephedrine, and then you have cocaine. Well, I'm telling you, if you have the strongest one, cocaine, you're not going to need coffee. And for sure, or ephedrine. You know, you have the strongest one, you're going to take only this one. And if you want more stimulation, you're just going to take more of the strongest one. You're not going to throw everything. You take one category and you take the strongest one and then play with the dosage. There is no point of throwing in 3 or 4. And when one of them is like really the best of it at that, so use that one and you're good. The antiviral.
Just to be clear, we are not recommending that anybody.
No. But it's very educative, and more so for the stimulants there.
Yeah.
Same for the antiviral. You know, they started with LL37, which is great. Then they added like C-Lank and the other one that's not because it has shown some antimicrobial, antiviral activity, those two ones. But I'm sure a lot of people in this group have used C-Lank. And in my personal clinical experience, I never had one person coming to me, hey, I was using C-Lank and guess what? I had a cold and my cold got amazingly better.
Yeah.
Never
Yeah.
happened.
Interesting.
So you may have that slight effect, but again, you have access to LL37, go for the best. You don't need to throw in 3-4 things.
Okay.
Just pick which one is the best and take this one,
Yeah.
and you'll be okay.
Yeah.
And to keep in mind, those are those are therapeutic protocols, but when you're at that point where you need that, well, me personally, yeah, of course, I would use them. Well, no, I would take them on my way to the hospital.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, we were talking about this
Because
before.
I would go to the hospital right now. You know, we complain a lot about our medical system, but if there is one thing they're still good is in emergency cares.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I let's say I would have a heart attack, I would never trust a naturopath. You know, say emergency to his office, have a heart attack. You know, no, that's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
And right now, if it gets there, I would consider it, and they will receive you as an emergency. They will do the best that medicine know punctually. I would bring the peptides, and you know, every time I would go to the bathroom, I would do my little shot of things to help them out.
You would, yes.
Well, I've done in the past anyway.
Yeah,
So, but you understand. But I wouldn't count on only that. You
yeah.
know, where because first it wasn't tested. You know, I don't know of anybody who has the virus and got cured by using only those peptides. You know, it's at this
It's
point,
all very theoretical. Yeah.
as a support, yes, I'm sure it's gonna help. But no, I would rush to the hospital. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But preventively, Thymosin alpha 1, if on top of everything you said, yes, I would definitely throw it in
Yeah.
preventive dosage and preventive protocol. And I'm convinced that will make a huge difference. That's the only one I'm taking. I take 1.5 milligrams 3 times a week, and I'm pretty confident that's all I need.
Yeah.
Plus, you know, I take mushrooms in my coffee in the morning and a few supplements. And I try to take care of my hygiene. I try to sleep more. I watch a bit more my diet in those times. I try to not use so much toilet paper because there's a huge shortage of it. And, you know,
throw that in.
basically, this is it. You know, at the end, that's not a black plague.
Yeah.
You know, as I there's this guy in the parent group, and he is in that group. What's his name? You know him. Yeah, it's kind of Paul.
Paul Tozer?
Yeah, and he actually I had a little private conversation with him because he's one of my friends of Facebook, and it was a bit stupid of me. I posted a couple of things without investigating. I said, you shouldn't panic, that's stupid and all that. And then, he kind of corrected me. And after I looked into it, he was right.
Yeah.
And then a few days ago, he posted something that made a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
That the panic at the beginning was good because that shook people to do what they had to do, but nothing crazy. Just follow directive. Wash your hands, don't touch your face, avoid direct. A bit of space, not like 2 kilometers, but and it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So if you take a too easy approach, don't worry about it, people won't do it. So it's good that they instaured that.
It's a sense of urgency.
Exactly, that
yeah.
Emergency, do it. And if you do it, you'll be all right. But of course, most people, they overreacted. And again, now we have a shortage. And I have no clue what's the link. But there is a North American shortage of toilet paper.
Well, there actually, you know what, Jean-François, there is it just so happens, I know someone, a good friend of mine is the agency of record, the advertising agency of record for Kruger paper. And Kruger paper makes a lot of the toilet paper that people are buying up. And there's no shortage. All there is that the stores are having trouble keeping up.
Okay. Well, actually, that's what's happening right now with my company, with Thymosin Alpha 1.
Exactly. You're having
we
trouble.
have plenty of it, but that's why, we put it up on Monday or Tuesday as back in stock. By Thursday, out of stock. Doesn't mean we don't have any more. Over the weekend, we make more next week. And don't worry, people, we have plenty of it. So we just limited in the number of vials we can make, but we're kind of giving it a priority right now. So
yeah.
Anyway.
So really, I think one thing that, and we're going to talk specifically about the your protocol for Thymosin Alpha 1 for people if they decide they want to do that. But I think that what's really important for people to understand, and the big takeaway is, we're trying to slow this down. We're trying to flatten the curve, and that may involve people not living their life exactly the way they've been living it for recent memory, so that we can go back to normal life sooner on the other side.
Exactly. That's the only thing.
That's the only thing, and it's going to be a little bit inconvenient, and it's going to require, I mean, look, I go to a very small boutique gym. There's only a few people in there at a time. I've been going saying, I wear boxing gloves in there. I'm not touching anything. There's no showers. And at the end of the day, I myself have had to kind of shake my head and go, okay, you know what?
And people should keep in mind that's not it's not the zombie apocalypse, it's not, or like Terminator kind of stuff where that's it, that's going to be like that forever. If we do the right thing, follow indication, basic it won't be even a year, and if everything is done right, then it's gonna go away. The virus is there to stay. It's just gonna become a new form of cold, basically.
It's gonna be part of the rotation.
Basically. Exactly. So people shouldn't think that this is it. That's the end of the world. And no, not yet. Because and people don't realize that cyclical, all those diseases start in China where it's kind of overpopulated. In nature, it always, those lemming that every so many years they throw themselves off the cliff. That's a reaction. It's an instinctive reaction to overpopulation. It's just a fact of nature. There is a focus, a spot overpopulated. Well, nature has a mechanism to decrease that population.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, that's an interesting way of looking at it. But I think right now, what we want to do is we want to slow this thing down. So the best way to do that is to act responsibly, take care of yourself. And one of the ways you can do that, if you feel like, for me, I personally don't use the Thymosin Alpha 1. I feel that I'm in a category of people that's very fit, very healthy. Plus, I'm taking steps to do what I can not to, kind of catch it in the first place. The people that I have in my life taking Thymosin Alpha 1 are my parents, who are very healthy and very vibrant, but they're in their 80s. They have some underlying conditions. And so for them, they need that extra edge. Hopefully, again, like you said before, I mean, we don't exactly have a long line of clinical studies saying that, Thymosin Alpha 1, if you do this, is going to stop you from contracting COVID-19 for sure. But we know that Thymosin Alpha 1 is going to give that modulating effect to your immune system that's going to give it the ability to fight off an intruder. And that's what your immune system's there for.
And again, remember, if you don't take care of the basic, it's like being a smoker and taking antioxidants.
Yeah. So,
I'll need to tell you which one will override the other.
Absolutely. So for the Thymosin Alpha 1, I believe, I'll let you say it. At this point, I know the protocol off by heart. You've told it to me so many times. I've got it memorized, but it's your protocol. So why don't you share?
Depending on your health and security level, 1.5 milligrams, 2 to 3 times a week. I would do it maybe 4 to 6 weeks again, and after that, while that crisis continue maybe once a week after that to kind of maintain the levels of immune stimulation you hope for, then, you know, maintain like.
But we're not boosting the immune system, right? We're really.
No, it's a modulation. And
it's a
in many cases, it will be a boost.
Because they're underperforming.
Exactly. But thymosin alpha-1 works a bit like an adaptogen.
Okay.
It works as well in cases of autoimmune, which is overreacting, as well as an underreacting. It established the balance between TH1 and TH2 to have it in balance, so you properly react to a proper immune response.
Right, which I think is a really important point for people to remember here, is that we're not, and at no time really should you be just mindlessly looking to boost your
no, because you're gonna, if you could do that, you would fall into autoimmune response.
Exactly. And
you don't want that either.
And that's the amazing thing about adaptogens, right? Whether it's an immune system adaptogen or a stress adaptogen, like, you know, it's one of the reasons why I love something like molecular hydrogen so much, because as much as it's an antioxidant, it's an oxidative adaptogen because it seems to be selective in the oxidation that it neutralizes.
I didn't try it yet. You gave me a few tablets there, but yeah, I didn't try it yet.
You know what? It's great for sleep. And I would add it to that stack I said earlier.
Okay.
I would take molecular hydrogen. I mean, I take it every day and have been for well over a year now. But I have to say, like, I think I told you last week, I have a client who came to me with arthritis in his ankle that had gotten so painful that he could barely walk anymore. And we gave him 3 things to do. We told him lemon water in the morning, cut back on the booze, which was a big one, and which he was drinking a lot of, and molecular hydrogen 3 times a day. And after 2 weeks, he was back on the tennis court.
Nice.
Now, a lot of people will sit there and go, well, it's because he stopped drinking. Well, interestingly enough, he went on a cruise, or he survived. It wasn't a Princess Cruise Lines, but he went on a cruise. He went back to drinking because it was his birthday, and he kept taking the molecular hydrogen, and the pain did not come back. So I think it's it's a very interesting little molecule that it's like.
Nice. I'll give it a go soon. So.
All right. All right. So thymosin alpha-1, the foundation. You know, if you're going to go to peptides, if you're only going to do one peptide, this is the one right now. Right? Now, people will ask, and I've had people ask me, well, what about thymolin? Thymolin seems to rejuvenate the thymus gland, which we know involutes.
Well, that would be thymolin. Thymolin as...
Thymolin, yeah.
Yeah.
So thymolin with an A.
Yeah, that's more of fixing your immune system so you wouldn't need thymosin alpha-1, you wouldn't need to...
but that's a long play.
Yeah, that's something you take and over time you fix it. It's not an emergency compound, you know, like, no. You can start throwing it in, so in the future you will have naturally, without taking any compound, a healthy immune response. But it's not fast acting.
So the thymosin, is that the one that you're using a little bit like a pitalon, where you're doing...
Exactly, it's the same principle. You know, you see the full effect of it if you're, you know, consistent over the years. Like pitalon, you know, it's a kind of peptide. I tell people, you'll thank me like in 5-10 years. You know, you'll...
Right. Okay, great. So that's thymolin, and thymulin, then that's the one that restores.
Yeah, and actually, I think in China, I don't know if it was out of a study or actually they used it in one hospital. It seemed that they had good results.
Yeah.
But again, I still believe that thymosin alpha-1 is the king of. Thymosin, actually, it's a pharmaceutical drug that is sold in pharmacies now.
Yeah, it's an FDA-approved drug, right?
but
Yeah.
more, from a, and I'm sure they looked into it and they say, okay, that's the one. It's used in cancer therapies. It's used in hepatitis C, hepatitis B, different dosages depending, and I strongly believe that if the because the pharmaceutical industry, they never negated the strong effect of peptides. They just shut up about it until they would have a grab on it like they
Right.
have now. But they never came out and say, no, they don't work. No, in silence, they were looking at it and do their little investigation. At the same time, they looking for a way to patent something out of it. And now they did. They patented the application of. So now,
Mhm.
bang, they're on the market. So they always knew, and they knew they're really good. And that's why now they're jumping in the market. And so if after years of watching and doing their little investigation, they pick right now. Thymosin beta 4, Thymosin alpha 1, BPC should be soon.
Mhm.
Uh, which other one is there? The PT 141.
And that's what I was going to say. Yeah, the
Yeah,
molecular.
so they're jumping in, and they really, and that's normal. I would do the same thing. You start with the best.
Yeah.
When you hit the market, you don't go with that little weird peptide. No, you go with, okay, this one is the best. We go with this one, and in that case, it's Thymosin alpha 1, no other
Okay.
one.
Great. So, okay, so we've talked about thymosin alpha 1. We've talked a little bit about LL37. Yeah, it's a pretty good antiviral, but there's also not a huge amount of research on it, right? So,
No, and
and as we said before, by the time we
And if you read the research, it works for some viruses, for some microbes, not all of them, and it's not clear. So again, that's why, okay, it's better be safe than sorry. You have access to it. It's not expensive. Get one vial is plenty. Yeah, you won't lose anything using it, but I wouldn't count on that. I would go to the hospital.
well, and you also have to use it with a very light hand. Like, what is it? It's 100 micrograms.
It's 100 to 150,
Yeah.
depending on body weight, sex, state of health. So you don't want to take more. That's why I say one vial is
Yeah. And
like,
it's a couple times a week. Like, it's not a daily thing. So,
well, no, at that low dosage, it can be daily if
oh, can
it's
it?
therapeutic. Yeah.
Yeah, but just because I've heard in the groups, like a lot of people have experienced Herxheimer reaction with the LL37. So
Yeah,
just
because,
it's
yeah,
just something
that's
you
it.
need to
If you
know, like
take
it's
too
get a
much,
die off,
when
right?
you start, then you have to tweak with it. There is not one fixed protocol, and more so for this one. That's the thing with all those kind of new peptides.
Mm-hmm.
As I tell people, when I started with peptides 20 years ago, it was easy to be a peptide expert because there were only 4 or 5 around. Now, every year, every month, almost every week, there is a new one popping out.
Yeah,
So, and popping out in such a way that there are no or very few studies on it.
yeah.
We we're really like in, whoa, what do we do? What's the dosage?
And what are the long-term effects? Like, I mean, even though a peptide doesn't last long in the body, at the end of the day, it's always initiating a cascade, a downstream cascade.
Yeah, that
So,
I don't worry so much
yeah,
because time told us with the basic one, BPC, it's always the same thing. You have those people, yeah, but it's new. We don't know what's going to happen down the line in 20, 30 years. Well, BPC, look, it's back from the 90s and it has been used by athletes and people for a long time.
yeah.
Thymosin beta 4. And back then, yeah, but in 20 years, you don't know, maybe cancer. And it turns out that no, if there is one class of compound more than others, you don't see that happening down the line, is peptides. That's why I love working with that class of compounds, because
Mm-hmm.
one of the thing I worry the least are that, side effects, long-term, short-term. And as I explained to somebody many times, what you would perceive as a side effect is not a side effect. It's actually related to your condition, not to the peptide. Best example, you have an allergy to peanuts.
Mm-hmm.
So you eat peanuts, you have a very bad effect, but doesn't mean that allergy is a side effect of peanuts. You understand? So it's an effect of your condition, not of the compound you're taking. So sometimes with some peptides, you will have a reaction. Let's say your condition is an autoimmune response.
Mm-hmm.
You will have an autoimmune response to the peptide, but that's not a side effect of the peptide. That's an effect from your condition to peptides or other things.
Right.
Understand the difference?
Yeah. I
So
mean, I would say,
actual side effects from
yeah,
the compound, amazingly few.
yeah. I mean, I'm someone who has, for whatever reason, developed antibodies to, thymosin beta 4 and
Mm.
the growth hormone analogs, right? So
But that's
some
due
people do, but
surely due to an underlying condition, because it's not the peptide that provoke directly that effect.
well, it kind of did because when I inject it, I have it, and when I don't inject it, I don't have it.
Okay, same thing. If you don't eat peanuts, you won't get the allergy.
Yeah, yeah. No, so I mean, I think we're
Yeah,
kind
you
of saying the
understand
same
what
thing.
you know the subtlety, the difference.
Yeah, the
It's not
peptides.
like
So what you're saying is the
intrinsically they don't provoke a reaction. No, if you have a specific condition that peptide will provoke a reaction, it's not the peptide in itself, it's you who has that condition. And it's an effect, your reaction is an effect of your condition to a class or a group of compounds, because you could have that same reaction with a compound that is not peptidic.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting.
Mm,
I, I think when all this is over, I should probably do a thymosin alpha 1 run and see if I can
mm,
get things in order. I think I'll leave it right now for the people who really need it. Okay, so we had a question from the group about MK677. I know that it is not your favorite peptide. It's not even a
well,
peptide, is it?
you just need to work around it, meaning that the main thing why I don't like it so much anymore
Mm-hmm.
is because it has in time such, you don't have any control on it. You take it once a day, you're gonna get growth hormone peaks roughly every 2 hours for at least 36 hours.
Yeah, that's an unnatural state for sure.
One, it's way too much. You're going to secrete supra-physiological levels of growth hormone.
Mm-hmm.
And what triggered me to not like it is that, when you have a peak of growth hormone, you become insulin resistant.
Right.
Not for the whole day, just for the time the growth hormone levels are high. So if you do a peptide once a day, twice a day, you'll be insulin resistant for maybe a couple of hours during the
Yeah.
day. The rest of the day, you're fine. But if you have a peak every 2 hours, that's another story. And that could seriously aggravate a pre-existing condition
Yeah.
of hypoglycemia or pre-diabetes. And I've seen it a lot with
Mm-hmm.
older people, 40 to up,
Yeah.
where the tendency to that is
It's
more,
already elevated. Yeah.
it's already elevated, and it makes it skip, and bang, they get symptoms, they get sleepy all the time, and all those symptoms of pre-diabetes.
Yeah.
So I don't like it for that. I wish it would have a short action time so you could work and play with it. Today I had a client and we're talking about that, and it's still a great compound. So, but he was doing a cyclical ketogenic diet
Yeah.
where you know, those where you do a refeed, it can be 1 meal, it can be the whole weekend, but you're 5, 6 days ketogenic, then you are you refeed carbohydrates, and it was a whole weekend, it could be a day and a half, you know, you work it out.
Yeah.
So I say, while you're ketogenic, you don't really care if you're insulin resistance, because you don't need it. You know, you don't need carbohydrates, so it won't affect you so much. So I told him then, but you want that kick from MK677. So I suggested to him a good protocol would be to do MK677, like let's say refeeds on Saturdays. He could do MK677 on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday do the growth hormone secretagogue to kind of maintain that higher levels of IGF-1, and, you know, rotate like that. But by the time he eats carbohydrate, he won't get those multiple peaks, so he won't get affected by it. So, you know, you need to learn to tweak with, it's not written in stone that you have to take it every day. You know,
so why use MK677 at all? Why not just use?
Because it's practical.
Huh?
It's practical. No injections, once a day.
So
and for some people, you really want that boost in growth hormone and IGF-1,
right?
For whichever reason. But
is it applied orally or transdermally?
Orally.
Oh, that's why. So, but then, I see.
Tastes like shit, but it works.
Yeah, well, my experience with biohackers and people in this space is they don't care that much about
Not much, no.
They
another condition I like, because it increases appetite a lot. So that's why athletes who need to gain weight, and if they take that with and they train, and they can gain a lot of muscle weight. Because, you know, when you eat more, that by itself is anabolic.
Yeah.
Because you drive in more amino acid. And I tell them, you know, you're hungry, eat a steak. You're hungry again an hour after, eat another steak.
Yeah.
You know, don't go eat spaghetti and bread. And, you know, so again, and you're okay. You're just going to gain more muscles. So it can be, and that the guy I was talking to today was a trainer. So I say, you know, tweak with the diet.
Also for elderly people.
Exactly, right? Because many times that's a huge problem where you see frailty falling in, because the simple reason they don't eat enough protein, they don't eat enough, period.
Yeah.
So it has amazing good effects to restore their appetite so they can eat normally. Yeah. So it's really good for that.
And some digestive enzymes, so they break down their protein, and they
very important too. And then they get a burst of growth hormone. So again, that helps with their frailty, you know, bit of muscle building there. So so it's I don't discard it, but I'm careful with it. You know, I just don't tell everybody you should take it. No, just be aware of what it does and what it doesn't.
And so do you, and I think part of the question from this group member was, do you have it available, or are you not making it right now?
Yeah. If you're in the US, there is one, CanLab.usa@gmail.com. We have a hub in the US. So you just write to this email. A very good friend of mine is in charge of the hub. So it's shipped, you know, just because soon it's going to be classified in the US and short after in Canada. So I don't want to be posting it when the shit hits the fan, you know.
Right.
I don't want to attract attention. But the demand is there in Canada. There is that company, SARM's Fits.
Which one, sorry?
SARMsfit.ca. So I provide them with the raw material, and I supervise their production, so I can vouch for their quality. We test, so it's great quality. And in Europe, there is that one company. I know the owner, and that one company is based in the UK. I'll send you the link if people want that. Or if you go on the CanLab page on Facebook, I did post that SarmsFit, the US provider, and the UK European provider, so they can go look there.
Okay.
And those three sources I vouch for. They're good.
Okay. So in Canada, it's armsfit.ca.
I think with, or I don't know where the S goes, but again, refer to the CanLab page
It's a
somewhere.
CanLab Facebook page.
Yeah, I posted at the end of December. We stopped 1st of January to sell them on our webpage.
Okay, amazing. There was a question about when ARA 290 is going to become available. And I think with the increase in need of thymosin alpha.
No, but it is because we can synthesize up to 5 peptides at the same time. We have 5 reactors.
Yeah.
So it is in the making right now. Basically, yeah, you know that our lab is within a university in Montreal.
Yes.
Well, the university closed down for 2 weeks. So officially it closed down, like nobody in.
Yeah.
And there is nobody inside, so nobody out. But tomorrow we write a letter to the dean to give us access because we have ongoing things happening. So, and shouldn't be a problem. It may delay by a day. Like the Thymosin Alpha 1, as I told you, usually it's back in stock on Monday. Probably it's going to be back in stock this week, Tuesday or Wednesday. Just that little local problem just delayed it a couple of days at most. But that's going to give us a chance to do more because there won't be any other things we have the lab has to do for university and contracts.
Right.
So officially we're not doing it. So we'll take advantage of that 2 weeks to kind of build up stocks on everything.
Great. Okay. So ARA 290 coming down the pipes in the next week or two.
I still hope we have it before the end of the month.
Okay. Amazing. And then there was a question, of course, for dihexa. People are pretty crazy for that one, and we've talked about this. It's a pricing issue right now.
Probably we will. Okay. There is that compounding pharmacy in Toronto, and we got the quote, and probably for private clinics and doctors, we're having a bunch of suppositories made.
Interesting.
So yeah, I
It's a very effective mode of delivery.
Yeah, almost as good as injecting it. It's a little bit invasive. But
again, I believe,
but if you're a biohacker, that shouldn't stop you. Or if you have some kind of condition or disease, well, you need it. So, let's do it. It's at the end of the day, it's nothing.
So will you be selling the suppositories?
No, we can't because we're not a compounding pharmacy. And probably we will get one compounding pharmacy in the US that we trust to do it too, this way. So when it's ready, probably we'll provide how to get in touch with them to buy it.
But they'll only sell to doctors and clinics, right? Yeah. So we'll have to figure something out at that point. We'll have to figure out a workaround.
There is always.
There's always a way, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think that, you know what? There was one last question. And because I said it had to do with immunity, there was one member who asked about what peptide, if any, would be helpful for people with HSV, with herpes simplex virus. And so he was asking about.
Well, again, listen, I have the virus, the herpes virus. It didn't show up in years. When does it show up? When you have a cold, stress, weakened immune system. If you keep your immune system strong, you'll never, you'll forget about it because it's going to be so long. Me, I forgot. When people, they mention it, say, oh, right, I have it. Yeah. I didn't see it in years.
So Thymosin Alpha 1 is probably.
Thymosin Alpha 1. Modulate the immune system, it's going to go away. And keep your immune system healthy, you won't see it
Okay. So thymosin alpha, so for you, for example, outside of this current climate where, you know, there's extra stressors, let's say, on the immune system, in a normal situation, would you use thymosin, would you do like a month of thymosin alpha 1 maybe a couple of times a year or
Yeah,
once a
yeah,
quarter?
that would be a good approach. Yeah.
Yeah, like 2 or 3
Yeah,
times
me,
a year?
I know Ryan Smith was, he said like twice a year, 6 weeks,
Yeah.
which is good, really good. Or me, I'm more, because of those more natural cycle, I would prefer to do 4 times a year, three
For 4
weeks.
weeks.
So the total is the same,
Mm-hmm.
but I have a preference for shorter cycles, 4 times a year. You know, so you follow the seasons, and it's kind of
Yeah.
more
So 4
natural.
times a year, 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that kind of covers a lot of ground. So thank you very much again for tonight. And I'm going to repeat again, guys, that this is information based. There's no medical advice being
Oh
given
no,
here.
just if I may
And
add,
yeah,
don't do cocaine.
yeah, and do not do cocaine. Thank you for repeating that. I was like, no, 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 guys. Drink coffee, no cocaine. Um, and matter of fact, even ephedrine, you could probably skip that. It would be a good,
Yeah, it's not a great compound to
not a
use.
good one. And if you know, if you get to the point where you feel really ill, especially these days, don't play the hero, don't self-medicate, call your doctor or clinic. I mean, at this
Mm,
point, you can't really show up anywhere anymore because of all the issues around
mm.
transmittability. Guys, take care of yourself from the ground up and be safe. And hopefully, we'll get through this with as little drama as possible. So, Jean-Francois, have a great Sunday. We
You too?
hope that your discussions with the dean go well tomorrow.
Yeah, well, it's an email exchange, so.
All right, and then we'll talk again real soon. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Goodbye.